So did we discuss the hierarchy? See, the same way. So how we have been learned, um, we have been learned on this one, right? Collections. So while we learning the collection, you have certain hierarchy. The similar way, so you should be having the hierarchy of the Java exceptions. Usually in interviews, the people will be asking, see, if someone is asking you, tell me an exception, so just they wanted to understand whether you know this or not. If someone is asking you the hierarchy, then how you need to understand is, hey, this guy is very typical, and he is also having the technical knowledge, and he wanted to gauge you from the technical point of view. Someone will ask you, hey, can you tell me where you encounter arithmetic exception and what is the reason for it? So then they wanted to understand your real-time experience. So what is here you need to understand is, based out of the question, you need to understand why this question is asking by him. Whether he wanted to check about my technical skill set, or whether he wanted to know about whether I know this particular topic or not, whether he wanted to gauge me whether I have a real-time experience or not. Most of your people, means this includes for the existing people also, most of the people, you are able to say the topic, I know this topic, but you are not able to prove that you have experience in this particular topic. Most of the people are failing in this particular area. See, always how you can see now, for an example, what is it? See, I'm here, I never encourage anyone to keep the fake. I'm just giving you this information. So when I'm training here, so I'm just giving you the particular pointer saying that, hey, this is how you need to answer. It not mean I'm not trying to encourage you to keep your fake experiences and then supporting for it, but I'm just supporting you. Hey, you need to understand the question, and then this is how you need to answer. So this is the ways I was trying to give it to you, but I'm not trying to encourage you people to keep the fake experiences and going somewhere else and then doing this particular interviews. So this is not my intention of saying for this one. You need to clearly understand the question properly and what's the intention of the interviewer, and then what his expectation, you need to give that particular answer. Until unless they get that particular answer, they will be drilling down your questions, their questions. So that's the reason you need to understand them properly. So first of all, if someone asked you the hierarchy, so the basic intention of them to understand you whether you have the in-depth knowledge on this particular exceptions or not. So here the first thing you need to understand is, so this is what the hierarchy of the exceptions. You have throwable. What is the superclass for throwable?
Object.
Any, for any particular class, the superclass is object. Okay, you have throwable. So now in collections you have interfaces. In exceptions you will have only classes. This is one thumb rule, simple thumb rule. See, in collections the probably the people might be confusing you, but here no confusion, everything is class. Object is superclass, but everyways means anyways the object would be superclass for everything. So that's the reason you need to worry about it. So now throwable is a superclass. Okay, superclass, you need to remember this, because when you go for the implementation in certain frameworks, you will be seeing the throwable. So if someone is using throwable, they have a good knowledge in the framework implementations, or they have the good knowledge in the exceptions. But majority of the frameworks, you'll be seeing only the exceptions. Why? Where? So when we go for the implementation, I'll talk about it. So let me first concentrate only on this particular hierarchy. First, you have throwable. Throwable have two kids. One is exception and another one is errors. What is exception? What is exceptions? What is means So we have the errors and everything, right? So before going for this one, what is an exception?
It's excluded from the rules.
Sir, exception is an object which occurs at
Any
one time.
unexpected behavior.
It's an unexpected event which occurs the simply execution of the program.
It disrupts the execution of the forward lines.
Any critical statement occurs at the time exception arises.
Okay, once again, I'm asking the question: what is an exception?
An unwanted, unexpected event occurs which disturbs the program flow is known as an exception, sir.
Okay, so now for an example, you're going for your examination. So probably you might be in your childhood days. So those days, you're going for your 10th standard examinations. So you're going in a vehicle. So either you'll be going in, means probably you'll be going with your means of parents, or you'll be going alone, or you're going with his friends. So suddenly tire got punctured. So how you feel? So exceptions are the things which are, it is not expected and it disrupts the flow. It disrupts the normal flow. Now you're going for your examination and suddenly the tire got punctured. It disrupted your flow. It disrupted your journey. Right? Now, will you stop there? Will you stop there?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Alternatively, what we will try to do, we will call to some of our friends, or we will take a bus, auto, or at the time we don't have the olas or these things. So whatever the mode of transportation will be taking it, and then we'll going it. So now what you're trying to do, you're handling that particular situation. You are interrupted or you are disrupted with something, with a normal flow, and when you have been disrupted, you need to continue your journey. You shouldn't stop there. So immediately you have been looked for an alternative and handled that particular situation. So this is called exception handling. So what are the different ways of exception handling? What are the different ways of
Two
exception
ways.
handling?
Two ways,
Try
sir.
catch.
Try catch. Try catch. Throws.
There are 5 ways to do this. Try, catch, throw, throws, finally. So these are the ways which you will be handling an exception. So first of all, you need to understand exception. See, don't by heart the concepts. Once again, I don't know what you're diverting. See, learn the topics thoroughly. Whatever the question they wanted to ask, let them ask. Whatever the way they wanted to know. See now, if you know, see now, if you have been read the complete textbook, whatever the question they wanted to give it in the question paper, let them give it. Understand the crux. Hey, this is what an exception. Exception is a disruption in the proper workflow. This is an unwanted behavior or unexpected behavior in a journey if you are encountering it. So this is called an exception. Now, when we have this particular exception, now first of all, you need to understand exception is a class. It's a Java class. Now, under this particular exception class, you need to know the family hierarchy. Always we will be having the family tree, right? So our forefathers and the grandparents, parents, we and our kids, their kids. So there would be having a hierarchy. Right? The same way here, when you see here, now throwable is an superclass. And for throwable, it have 2 sons. Okay, two kits. One is exception and then one is errors. Now, when it comes to the exceptions, once again, it had two children. So, which is checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. And we have errors. What are errors? What the most frequently asked questions? See, randomly the people ask, hey, what is the difference between an exceptions and errors? What is the difference between that? See, the basic answer the people will be trying to give it is exceptions can be handled. And in exceptions, we have checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Means here, when someone asks you to say the differences, you define the definition of it. And if you find any major differences, you can say that. So exceptions can be handled, errors can't be handled. If you got this one, it holds. Example. Now you are going for a travel. So you are going in a car. Okay. Probably you are going from Hyderabad to Goa, whatever the place you choosing, you're traveling. Your tire got punctured. What you'll do? You will repair, means you will you remove that flat tire and then you'll replace that particular flat tire with a normal tire and then you continue your journey. Your engine was breakdown. Then you call to the road assistance and then ask them to take the car. And then for this one, you don't want to drop your journey. So you will continue with a cab or you take another mean of mode to reach this one. So you need to see that if completely the breakdown happen, you can't use that. If it is a flat tire, you can go ahead. You handled that particular situation and you went away. The same way, when you got these particular errors, you'll halt your program. It can't move further. Stack overflow error, virtual machine error, out of memory error. There are a lot of other errors. Okay, when you have these particular errors, it would be halted. Halted means it's stopped. The execution will be stopped. Means the functionality of that one would be stopped. It will not work. But now when it comes to the exceptions, in the exceptions, you have two things. One is checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. The name itself, it was checking that checked means I'm checking this. And while checking, I know that I'll be encountering with this particular checked exception. Unchecked exceptions. Hey, this is not checked. Via executing the program, I'm getting this particular exception. So that's the reason unchecked exceptions are called as runtime exceptions and checked exceptions are called as compile time exceptions. Means while checking, okay, while checking, I'll be getting these particular while executing the program, I'll be at the runtime, I'll be encountering these particular exceptions. Those are unchecked exceptions. And before execution, so while I compile the code itself, I'll be able to get that these are the exceptions, then these are checked exceptions. Okay. So now if you see here, arithmetic exceptions. Now, example for the arithmetic exception, anyone?
0 divided by 2.
Absolutely.
0 divided
So now
by
0 divided by 2. So now any maths, you know, when even though if you written that particular code, system will not identify that one. For an example, somewhere else you're getting the 0 and that particular value it is divided by some it is going to divide that 0 with some other value. So during the runtime only you can identify these particular issues. And during the runtime only you'll be getting this particular array index bound exception. Index, you remember, right? So if we the number of indexes in the array or in the list, when we have it, index out of bound exceptions will be getting it. And null pointer exception. Can anyone say what is this null pointer exception?
Sir,
If the object
if I
is
When
assigned
it's
Assigning the null value to a variable.
Or give me one by one answer so you can raise your hands. Yeah, Rajlakshmi.
whenever the object is assigning the null value, if we access that object, we will get the exception, sir.
How when you are not able to get this particular exception? See, we'll be creating the object already, right? And we are executing it, right? So why it will not map?
For the reference, we need to create the object. If we put it as null, then we will get this exception, sir.
See, most of the time when you encounter this particular null pointer exception, so you have to be very much cautious, and this exception majority identifies for the object. Not only for the object, even for the variables also you'll be getting it. If you define a variable and the variable doesn't assign with a value, it's not for specifically for the object. It can be defined for the variables and values also. You're pointing some value, but there is no value for that. Means you're referring to get certain value over here. Means you have been defined a value for an integer, a string. You wanted to bring that particular value and use it. But the value is not having, when you're pointing to that particular address, there is no value there. So then this will returns into a null pointer exception. Anyways, we'll go to the details of that one. There we will be understanding it. So what you need to understand is these exceptions can be identified while running them. So means while executing at that point of time only, you'll be identifying this. But if you see that, so IO exceptions, means the SQL exceptions, class not found exceptions. Before execution of the program itself, you'll be identifying with this particular set of exceptions. So which is the compile time exceptions. Okay, so you should clearly understand this particular hierarchy. So based upon this particular hierarchy, now for this one, you'll be having, if you're going with the Selenium, you'll be having another 43 exceptions. Now, I don't know, in the version of 3.1.14159, the last version which I have been worked on, but now we have 4.04, and then 4. Latest versions, I don't know about it. But for this particular versions, the exception might increase. So and for that particular version, you have 43 exceptions from the Selenium, which you need to learn about it. See, always this gives the practical experience. Means by asking this particular set of questions, the people can understand that, hey, this guy has been vigorously worked in this or not. Okay, so once again, remember this one, throwable have two kits. One is exceptions and errors, and exception have two kits, which is checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions are compile time exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are the runtime exceptions. Now you see here, you just imagine that actually this diagram is wrong. Wrong means they didn't properly drawn on this. So now you can see it here, right? So exceptions. This is pretty simple to understand. You can see it, right? Everything is classes here. So object, throwable have two kits, errors and exceptions. Exceptions have two kits, checked and unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions, you can have this all: class not found exception, clone not supported exception, illegal access exception, instantiation exception, interrupted exception, no such field exception, no such method exception. So these all things would become as a compile time errors, and these all exceptions would become as checked exceptions. Okay, take the snippet of the screenshot of this one. So actually, I used to have that particular documentation. I missed it, but still, almost all this would be similar to this. So you can go on this particular picture. Okay. Most of the time when you're trying to implement on this one, you will understand that particular pointer. So how this can be executed and then used on it. Fine. So hope as of now what we have been understood is the hierarchy we have been learned. Now let me go through the high level, and here we didn't discuss about in detail of what is this particular IO exception, what is SQL exception, class not found exception. So if I why I'm not going into that particular details, because it will lead you to the confusion. So I don't want to get into those particular things now, but basic things you can easily understand. See, now from the runtime arithmetic exception you understood, null pointer exception you understood, number format exception means the format that will be having the number formats, right? So that's a if you have any particular wrong format during the execution, so then you'll be having this particular number format exceptions. And index out of bound, so where we can have array index out of bound and string index out of bound. So this runtime exceptions you can easily understand, but compile time exceptions you should have certain deeper knowledge to understand this one. So the why we will get the class not found, these exceptions will be coming in. So I don't want to get into those particular things as of now, and even into the errors also. So errors and then compile time exceptions I don't want to discuss in detail now. So at least you should know that, hey, object, throwable, exception, error, exception have runtime exceptions, checked exceptions, and checked exceptions are these particular exceptions, IO exceptions, SQL exceptions, class not found exceptions. And what is that particular class not found? That we didn't discuss. Now, runtime exceptions we can discuss about, hey, arithmetic exceptions and all. And what is this? We know about it. So the out of scope for this particular topic is in details of checked exceptions and then in details of error exceptions. Apart from this, we discuss these particular topics. Okay. Now, let me take you through this particular handling point of view. Okay. So as we discussed Java exceptions, we have two things: checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions, and the errors. So they have been defined. What is this particular checked exceptions? I think we have been discussed in detail about it. And unchecked exceptions also we have been discussed about it. And errors. So we have been discussed about the errors. It is errors can't be handled, and errors can't be, it means errors is irrecoverable, means immediately it can't be handled or fixed. So that is where it is saying that irrecoverable. Okay. Now we have been discussed about a basic definition of an error, not into the complete things. Now let me go for the exception handling. See, now why I'm going a little bit faster, because already you have been covered these particular topics. Just to make it some more structured, I'm trying to explain you on this. So now these are the keywords. Now always you remember that: try, catch, finally, throw, throws. So now these are the keywords. Now what is, or what are these particular things as? I told you, right? If you wanted to handle the exceptions, there are 5 ways to handle the exceptions. So these are the 5 ways. Now handling this particular exceptions, the first one is try. What is this try? What is this try?
Sir, if I have a doubt, in future there might be any unwanted behavior. So those lines of statements I put in try blocks.
The dangerous statements will keep in a try block.
Mm-hmm. Any other pointers? See, I'll give you a small example. Every car have a spare tire. Why?
In
Why
case
every car will not have a spare engine? Right. Why didn't you think about it? Every car will have a spare tire. Why every car will not have a spare engine?
Because sir, engine is not replaceable at the meantime when it is not running.
sir, tire we can handle, sir, but engine we can't handle.
See, now you need to see, we need to see it in a two different point of views on this. I know that I'm giving some stupid examples, but still why I'm giving this one is so that you can remember it for a longer time. I know it may not be an apt and very accurate things to give these examples, but at least when we think about these exceptions, always you will be getting this particular thing. Now, as a user, we can easily understand to change this tire, but not this. Here we need to have SME, means subject matter expert, who can understand how the engine need to be taken care and then it will be fixed. There are a lot of reasons why we will not have the spare engine in terms of understanding, in terms of cost, everything, and making of this checking of the knowledge, the integration, all these things it is not possible with us, right? Now, when there is a interruption, I wanted to go ahead with this particular spare tires. Means, for an example, I have a tire puncture, immediately I can change that particular tire and then I can go ahead. But if there is a breakdown in the engine, definitely I can't do this one. I need to solve that. So now these are like an errors. So definitely we need to have the SME to come and fix that particular problem. But here it can be fixed on the fly, so that I can, if the tire got punctured, I can change this particular tire and then I can go. Right? Now, the similar pattern in my flow, I have 10 lines of code. I thought, means this is, I know that this can be handled. And this is the place where it may go wrong. It may go wrong. See, most of the times for the existing team, probably many a times, hey, did you add the exception? One time it will behave properly. Second time it is not behaving properly. We'll be saying that, hey, go and handle that particular code. What do you mean by handling the code? First you go and give the try and catch over here. So now what it will try to do is, I'll have 10 lines, right? Out of 10 lines, only for 4, so for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. Now, I have the problem with 4th and 5th line. 1, 2, 3, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are working absolutely fine. But this particular piece of code, sometimes it works, sometimes it might not work. You might ask, hey, why it will not work? The same lines of code, it may not work for Chrome. It will work for Firefox. Certain times it will throw the exception. Abrupt behavior, because here it takes a lot of time for the application. And sometimes the application will be faster. Why? Because these things are really, from the development point of view, they need to explain for us. But from us, from the automation code, we need to handle these things. So at that point of time, so these are the real-time scenarios which I'm talking about it. So at this point of time, you need to handle your code. So you know that the 4 and 5 lines of code, it may work or it may not work. And these are, it might interrupt your execution. See, now that is what the definition of the exception, right? It might disrupt your workflow or interrupt your flow. So that you need to handle this particular exception. Now, how you are going to handle? You're going to handle with the try. Boss, try this. If you're trying this, if this is not working out, then go for the catch block. In the catch block, you will write another code. And then If this is working fine, it's okay. Even if it is not working fine, then
Finally,
We have to catch that exception.
so you didn't understand the concept of try catches. You need to write try, okay? And you'll be saying this, catch, this. And you're saying finally. What is finally? Okay, anyways, when I come to there, I'll talk about it. Now, how we need to handle this one is, okay, you are making certain, the same example, I'll take it. You're going for a very important catch up. Okay, so you're traveling from someplace from Hyderabad to Vijayawada or somewhere else, where else you wanted to go. You're going with the car breakdown. Okay, not breakdown, the car is not working. Immediately you will go, means you will be waiting for Ola cabs. You're not getting the Ola cabs. Then what next? You'll ask for a lifts. You didn't get it in the cars. Then you stop lorries. You take that particular lorry and then you'll be trying to go there. And then if it is certain distance only they are coming in, then you'll try for trains. You try for whatever the means of mode. So, what is your ultimate target? You wanted to reach to this. See, actually speaking, for an example, there is a patient in a bed. First, we will give this particular dose. If this is not working, we'll give another dose. It is not working, we will try this dose. And we will see, now ultimately our intention is to make survive this particular patient. Right? See, that is how you need to write your code. As a good engineer, the first thing you need to understand that whatever you do, my code will not fail. See, that is what this try catch will explains us. Now, what it will try to do is, first try this code. I may get this particular exception. If I get this exception, you try this. If not, I'll get this exception. Then you try this. If not, I may get this exception. Do this. If not, try with this particular exception. Finally, everything is done. Then you do this and then get out of this. So try catch is not a single thing. If you get this exception, you try this. If you get this exception, you try this. You get this exception, you try this. You get this exception, you try this. See, now there is a, in the movies also there will be some, right? There is one batch is waiting for you. Okay, if he comes in this direction, they will attack him. Or if they go in another direction, there is another set of people, they will attack this guy. If he goes in another direction, it will be attack. Right? So what you are trying to do? So your ultimate intention is to caught hold of him. So now you will be, in all possible ways, you will try to handle that. That is what you need to do it at your code level. Maximum the team will be trying to do. Boss, I'm getting exception. Then I'll say add try catch. They'll add one try and one catch. But it's not only that exception. It means whatever the possible exceptions you're getting it, you catch that particular exceptions and do this. See, then only your code is stable, right? 96% of the people will do only one try, one catch. I never seen the people who has been implemented more than 2 to 3 catches. See how much detail you will be writing it and how possible you can handle the code. So that's the best way of an engineer to handle these things. This is, you have written the code. You need to handle that one, right? At any cost, boss, I'll handle it. And it's not that you need to write the worst code. So you need to make sure that it should work. That's your responsibility. Means if it is an error, and this is a bug, and always remember that you need to handle your automation code, not the bugs. What people will do is, the people will handle the bugs also. We shouldn't handle the bugs. We should handle only the exceptions, not the bugs. This clear-cut definition you should understand. Exception handling is nothing but making an uninterrupted flow. Exception handling is not to handle your bugs. Many of the people will handle the bugs. They wanted to make the test case pass. This is not our intention. Making test case passing is not our intention. Making a test case to execute uninterruptedly. So this is what our intention. Understand this one thoroughly. So now here, this is what single try, multiple catch implementations. And we will be having nested try implementations. Means try will be, and he'll be having the catch here. And inside this one, once again, we'll have try and catch. And inside this one also, you can have try and catch. So now this is what nested try. This is try with multiple catch blocks. And this is what nested try. So these are the things you need to clearly understand. So you need to understand that, hey boss, if I get the arithmetic exception, what I need to do? If it is getting the null pointer exception, what I need to do? If I'm getting this exception, what I need to do? So this is how you will be writing it. And in this particular situation, you will be writing certain lines of code. For this particular lines of code, it executes, and next set of lines, you'll be having it. These are different set of scenarios. Based upon the scenarios, you need to do this nested tries or this multiple catch blocks. You should know where to use what. That is really very important. That's how this particular exceptions and exception handling will work for us. Okay, so now what you need to practice is, first use try, and try is always dependent. It can't be used isolated. Either it might be dependent on catch block or it might be dependent on the final. But not try can't be used alone. Means what you're trying to say is, hey boss, try this. If this is not working, then do this. At that point of time, you might be getting a question. Boss, then why I need to use try catch? I can use if else, right? If this is what we are trying to do in the condition, I'm doing it. But here I don't have any conditions here. If anything goes wrong, then it will go to the catch block, and into the catch block also, based upon this particular exception type, it will go into that. If I'm getting an arithmetic error, then it will go to this block and then it execute. And if I'm getting a null pointer exception, then it will go to this block. In if else, I need to define these particular conditions, right? These conditions we don't know. If it goes wrong, then it will go here. If it is not goes wrong, then it execute all these particular lines of statement and it will go for the next statements. So that is where you need to understand thoroughly. See, that's the mechanism of this particular try catch blocks. So what I wanted to see from you for tomorrow is, try with this particular try and different set of catches. And finally, and then try the nested blocks and then show it to me. And tomorrow I'll be asking you the question, what is the differences between throw versus throws? And finally. So anyways, you have been already, these concepts are done, right? So we will be once again touching those particular pointers on this particular area, throw and throws, and finally. So let me continue for this for tomorrow, and then we'll discuss in detail on that particular topics. I think it's already done 6. Fine. So these are the things you need to understand, and believe me, this is really one of the